In this video, we're going to focus on pronouns. So to understand pronouns, you have to just realize that they substitute reality by acting as a structural placeholders for specific nouns that we call antecedents. And so this reduces redundancy and also improves flow. So instead of saying someone's name like Jennifer over and over in a paragraph, we simply use the pronoun she. And so pronouns function in three specific zones or cases, and the nominative case is for subject, the objective case is for objects, and the possessive case just shows ownership. And so here we can see examples of the nominative cases, objective cases, and possessives. And next is the linking logic. So linking verbs like am, is, are, was, and were kind of act like equal signs. And so because the subject equals the renaming subject, the pronouns that follow a linking verb needs to be in the nominative case. And so that just means that you should say, it must have been she who placed the order, and not it must have been her who placed the order. And so your pronoun needs to match the subject. And so when you're dealing with compound nouns, you want to use what's called the isolation test. So if you ignore the extra noun, the correct case is going to show itself. For example, here we have the manager promoted Jeff and me. If we drop Jeff from the manager promoted Jeff and me, you'll instantly hear that me is the correct choice. And also it's a good idea to remember that prepositions take the objective case, so it is just between you and me and never you and I. The ownership mechanic is simple but crucial. And so possessive pronouns never use apostrophes. So words like it's, ours, and yours, these all show possession without needing an apostrophe. However, when we have words like it's, your, and their, these are just contractions for it is, you are, and they are. And so just keep in mind that if you want to show ownership, do not include the apostrophe. And so now let's talk about agreement protocols for indefinite pronouns. So these are words like everyone, each, anybody, and someone. And so these might refer to a group, but they are structurally singular. This means that they operate as one unit and take a singular verb and pronoun. And so because of this, a standard grammatical sentence would be, each student must submit his or her report. In a more specific view, we can say someone left her purse. So similar to indefinite pronouns, businesses operate under corporate singularity. So this means like a company, staff, committee, or board. Basically, they function as a single unit. So you need to use the word it and not they. So for example, you would write Jones, Cohen, and Chavez Inc. has canceled its contract, and not Jones, Cohen, and Chavez Inc. have canceled their contract. So current business standards really demand inclusivity and bias-free language that respects identity and tries to avoid gender assumptions. And so to avoid the awkward he or she phrasing, the easiest fix is to just change the sentence so that it's plural, such as all team members are responsible for their success. instead of all team members are responsible for his and her success. Okay, you should also use the singular they for indefinite antecedents or non-binary identities. And then also try to respect self-identified neopronouns like Z. So here we have that who versus whom confusion. So you would use the substitution algorithm. So first, find the clause and then replace the word with he or him. If he works, you would use the word who. If him works, then you would use the word whom. So for example, the book was ordered for him. So the correct word to use would be whom. And so the correct form of this would be, for whom was the book ordered? And so just as a quick review of the precision choice, in the first example, we have either just between you and me or just between you and I. And so the correct sentence would be, it is just between you and me. Next, we have the company released its earnings instead of their, and remember that's because companies are singular. And then finally, you would distribute supplies to whoever ordered them, because whoever acts as a subject for the verb ordered. Okay, and so let's take a look at a little bit more of the advanced mechanics. In the first sentence, we have either we or us citizens have formed a group. So to figure out which word should be used, let's ignore the word citizens. And so we citizens have formed a group is the correct form. Next we have, next year I hope to earn as much as she, because we're implying that as she earns, not next year I hope to earn as much as her earns. And then finally, in the last example, we have the CEO himself answered the phone. And so this is a reflexive pronoun for agreement. So it wouldn't be the CEO myself answered the phone. And so here's just a brief checklist to use when you draft your assignments. Just remember that there are 3 case systems. You can also use the isolation trick for compound mechanics, and then try to ensure singular agreement for indefinite pronouns and collective companies.